This video contains graphic imagery and spoilers. You've been warned.
Alright, the video is done. Just in time before September and it's October already? Jesus fuck! I'm gonna be taking more time on these videos, aren't I? I keep forgetting I have a life outside YouTube for some reason. I've talked about this a few times on my channel, but something you might not know based on your assumption of me is that I love watching football. I literally have Monday Night Football on my TV as I'm recording this. I'm a fan of the Detroit Lions, but I also find myself watching our games just to make sure the rest of the NFC North is suffering so we can keep our top spot. I know for me it's just people running with the ball, and it pretty much is. But what makes it so fun to watch is not only watching your represent say win, okay, frankly that's something I can say about all sports, but the high physicality and energy of the game has made it one of, if not, the most popular sport in the States. Also, there comes moments like this.
To the outside, and that is complete to Reggie Wayne.
You wanna know what I also love that's actually in line with your assumption of me? Horror movies. Even when I'm having nightmares that leave me questioning whether or not I need sleep, I enjoy getting scared from time to time. Not as in being scared for the future of my country, which I'm totally 100% not, but as in watching movies with spooky, scary villains that send shivers up my spine. Sometimes I want to get under my covers because I'm too afraid of big bad monsters. Or sometimes I laugh, because they can have a good old sense of humor. I like both of these things. So what would happen if you put them in a room together? Firstly, let's not talk about that, this is YouTube. Oh wait. Secondly, it would give birth to him. The title of the film. An up-and-coming college football quarterback, Cameron Cade, is preparing for the Pro Football Combine to show what he's got to make it to the league, but is unfortunately struck by a random fan that gives him a serious brain injury that could cost him his career. But in a turnaround of luck, he is invited to train with legendary quarterback Isaiah White at his remote desert compound. But as it turns out, Cameron ends up getting more than what he asked for, and spirals down a rabbit hole of mind games that test just how far he's willing to go for all the fame and greatness. In other words, what is he willing to sacrifice? Oh man, have I been looking forward to this one since the first teaser came out. Not just for its concept, but because it's directed by the one and only Jordan Peele. The man that went from being in a comedy duo with Keegan-Michael Key to directing now iconic horror films such as Get Out, Us, and Nope. Oh my god, I cannot wait to see how he... I'm sorry? Jordan Peele's not actually the director? That dude is given to someone else? And I'm sounding like a dipshit for saying all this out loud for the sake of a gag. Yeah, so Jordan Peele isn't actually the director, but solely the producer since the script was borrowed by his production company, Monkey Paw Productions. The actual director is Justin Tipping, who you might recognize from his 2016 directorial debut with Kicks. Whereas other Peele-produced flicks gathered a mostly positive reception both critically and financially, for some reason him has been the exact opposite, with it being bashed across the board and doing pretty poorly at the box office. And the reason why is clear when you look at the film itself. I'm just gonna get the positives out of the way first because I have plenty of them. First of all, I adore how this film looks. Yeah, for the most part it looks very gritty with the saturation looking like it was set to .775 in Vegas Pro. Not a criticism by the way, it's common for horror films like this. But there are also points where the colors are very vibrant, making some scenes really pop out. They also play around with the cinematography and visual effects, mostly where there are close-ups and x-rays to show the kind of damage football does to a human body. Actually, no, that's like for only one prolonged scene where two of the characters are just skeletons. Oh my god, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo is alive and became a player! Shout out to my cousin, by the way, he's a Tampa Bay fan. Most of the x-rays and bone close-ups are either used to show Cameron's head injury, or whenever he's taking a vaccine that has Isaiah White's blood in it, with one of the vaccines having this label. I don't know why, but that was the funniest part of the movie to me. Speaking of the characters, yeah, they were the best part. Mostly Isaiah White and Cameron Cade, played by Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers respectively. Man, their performances were astonishing. I remember Withers from that one episode of Atlanta, and I do remember Marlon Wayans helped write the first two Scary Movies before it was taken from him and his brother by the Weinsteins. God, I hate that shit face. And they come together in this film flawlessly, with Cameron being portrayed as this normal player being pushed to his limits. Oh yeah, did you know Tyreek Withers used to be a football player? Now you know. And Isaiah being this sinister yet very learning teacher. Their bond straight up carries the entire flick. I've heard a lot of people talk about Marlon Wayans being here due to the fact he's usually a comedic actor being put in a serious role, and while it hasn't not been done before as seen with Jim Carrey and the late Robin Williams, it's always been pretty rare. And with how amazing Wayans was in this, I hope this can inspire more comedic actors to step outside their comfort zone and take risks like this. Also while I'm at, shout out to Tim Heidecker and Julia Fox for simply being in this movie. They deserve all the love they can get. I also want to give huge props to Bobby Kurlick for doing the soundtrack. Apparently he did the scores for Midsommar and Blue Beetle, and I think his score goes with this film excellently. I don't know how much it adds to my video, but I personally think we should talk about soundtracks more often when doing film reviews. Is that just me? And now we get on to the plot, which is where my feelings toward this film start to get a little teeny bit complicated. I'll start by saying that I really dig the premise. Not only combining the sports genre with horror, but also for its attempt to do satire on professional football. Football isn't one of the most popular sports in the country, it's the sport of the nation. That was probably the most American thing I've ever said, Lord help me. Though the thing about it is that out of all the sports, this one's the most physically violent. Well, aside from wrestling and boxing, but that's not the point. Don't let those safety helmets fool you. Just one collision with another player and you're left with a trip to a hospital. Football, as fun as it is a very risky sport to play when it's not flag. Or Madden, but we don't talk about that. Even without that factor, there are multiple scandals involving how the NFL has treated and exploited its players, and even accusations of using the referees as a way to let a favorite team win. I'm looking at you, Kansas City. So him has the perfect opportunity to not only provide some commentary on the league, but also on how we treat the athletes we idolize. And to the film's credit, this is something they delve into. Just barely. The biggest hurdle that ultimately brings the film down is how much it just doesn't commit. All the above things I mentioned earlier, like the injuries, the league itself, and the treatment of athletes, only make up about 1/3 of the film. The rest is your basic run-of-the-mill horror movie stuff that feels somewhat slopped together with low cohesiveness. It looked really good in the first half, but much like the Lions 2024 NFC Championship, I probably don't want to think about that game. The second half is where it really starts to fall apart. It's obviously not the same level of incoherence as something like Hurry Up Tomorrow, because at least here I can make out what it was trying to tell me, like football can be dangerous, the league is evil, and being the greatest of all time is a blood ritual where power is passed on to another. I'm sorry, what now? Yep, they straight up reveal at the end that it's all a satanic cult. I mean, do I need to explain how stupid that sounds? If anything, it would have made more sense to put all of that religion and ritual shit on the fans, considering we all know how chaotic they can be. I believe the perfect version of this film would be to have Isaiah White as this misunderstood antagonist who is desperate to move on from being him, and pushes Cameron to a point where the constant injuries and training nearly kill him, and then there's stuff about the fans treating the game as a religion, which in fairness they do in the final film, and the league itself is just every evil corporation you see in the movies giving Cameron a shady contract. Obviously it's over the top, but it also keeps things somewhat realistic considering what we know about the NFL. But no, we got the safe version, which is funny because I thought I was told this film wasn't gonna hold back.
I guarantee you this film does not play it safe.
So that was a fucking lie. Him had all the makings of a great film with its cinematography, characters, acting, music, and engaging premise. The good in this film was out on the field ready to play, just to give up after the first half. And due to incoherent writing, failure to figure itself out, the film ultimately fumbled the ball halfway through the field and could only score itself one touchdown, the rest being field goals. If you're into sports and horror movies and want to see them combined, then I can at least somewhat recommend this, but him just didn't communicate with itself, resulting in a tight game. Not a funny one at that. The funny one happened last Sunday. I think Justin Tipping has the potential to be a great head coach, but the coordinator and some of the very talented players weren't enough to give him the win, and that really sucks. Okay, I think I can stop with the football language now. And that's why I'm giving him a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is, and I go as far as to say I still had a good time watching it, but objectively, this could have been so much better. Oh well, guess I'll wait for Jordan Peele's actual next film to come out, and in the meantime, I'm gonna go watch the Lions win. Until next time, I'm Miyachi. See you later, Tama friends.